Hey, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show. Thanks for tuning in to the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM. If you're interested in sponsoring my show, you can send me an email to the Mike Wagner Show at gmail.com, or you could also donate to the podcast. Just go to the Donate Listen site, and you can also donate whatever you like. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. For those who are interested, Anchor can give you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. We've got creation tools, allows you to record and edit podcasts so it sounds great, and they'll distribute the podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere. Spotify, Apple, Google, many more. And you can make money from the podcast with no minimum listenership. So download the Anchor app for free or go to Anchor FM to get started.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Radio Public, Anchor FM, Google Play, as well as Apple and iTunes. And take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on YouTube as well. We're here with a wonderful gentleman who has a son that was born with a special condition, but managed to play basketball. We'll talk more about that, especially with the upcoming basketball season. He is the author of Ephphatha. I hope I got that right. That's to be open in Aramaic, and it's a chronicle of his only son, Christopher, born with no hearing at all. He also earned 4 degrees and has worked published national and state level. This is the author right here, and we'll talk about an interesting journey playing basketball and what's he doing in the future and everything else under certain conditions, and what's it mean to be open as well is Ephphatha, as they call it. So, live right here. It's not on the basketball court. It's right here in a remote studio. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome in the author of To Be Opened, Ephphatha. I'm going to keep probably saying it over and over again, Dr. Thomas Caufield. Dr. Caufield, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Mike, thank you so much. And by the way, your pronunciation was darn near perfect on our title. We have people really, they kind of messed that up, Mike, and you didn't do that. So thank you. You obviously have done your homework, and you articulated that really well. It is pronounced Ephphatha.
Ephphatha, yes. Ephphatha, yes. It's pronounced with a lisp, but of course, it depends on what region you go to, and some people pronounce it like Ephphatha, things like that. It's like, it's on the dialect as well, too, so Ephphatha. So I'm going to keep practicing until, we got it all right. And we got to make sure the listeners do that, too. So
it's kind of fun, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, it's a challenge. It's like, I've seen, many others, but this is probably the ultimate challenge, and thank you for that as well, too. So you're the author of Ephphatha, which is to be opened in Aramaic. And this is about the chronicles of your only son, Christopher, born with no hearing at all, and managed to play basketball. He also had an injury on the way, but still managed. And, of course, yourself, you earned 4 degrees, and your works have been published at the national and state levels. And one of the books was also in the top 8 in basketball player books as well, too, according to bookauthority.org. But before we get into all that, tell us how you got started.
Well, it's kind of interesting, Mike. As I look back on it, this is our only son. And I said to myself, once Christopher was diagnosed at about 1 year old, that we're obviously going to be on a tremendous journey ourselves. And it's really, I wish I could sit here and tell you, Mike, and your audience that this was all planned out and I wanted to do this, what started as a journal, and I had the idea of it turning into a book. It was nothing like that. What happened really is we don't have any deafness in our family. And it's good that the audience knows this. For hearing parents, believe it or not, 90% of the time, deaf kids come into the formula to hearing parents. I think society kind of thinks, well, deaf kids come to parents that have deafness, and that's really how it happens. The majority of the cases, 90, that's very high, come to hearing parents, so they don't have any experience with this.
Right.
So being unexperienced as parents, Mike, what I did was kind of different. I recognized, being an academically oriented person, that journey was going to be pretty difficult, probably. I knew that the day he was diagnosed, and I said to myself, I'm just going to start to write things down. And then as that kept going on, and by the way, this was all a secret. Nobody knew, and I wasn't trying to be secretive, but I just said, this is my journal. I was going to give it to Christopher when he was old enough and he reached his highest milestone possible. Mike, the dude just kept going. and the milestone, that wasn't good enough. Hey, look what he's going to go on to do now. And that just kept going. So I ended up presenting it to him when he graduated from undergrad in draft form. And I said, we're getting a lot of play on this, son, now from a lot of the media. And I am planning on turning it into a book. And so that's pretty much how it happened. It took me 2 decades to write that book, Mike.
Wow, 2 decades. And of course,
yes.
you had all the basketball players, just went through. According to bookauthority.org, this book was ranked number 8 as well. And I think that was like along the lines like, say, LeBron James or Michael Jordan and or some of the other players as well, too.
Yeah,
I look at them like...
Yeah, Curry's in there, and Iguodala, our publicist, she called me, and she's kidding with me. Of course, this is how we get along. And she says, hey, you had a little more name recognition, you'd be ranked higher. And I didn't know it at the time where we were at. And I said back to her, Mike, I said, well, what's going on? And she said, we're at the 8th spot, according to Book Authority, and they post to CNN and some of these other groups and have really good reviewers reviewing the books. And I said, well, what genre is this in? And she said, it's in the basketball area. And I wasn't offended, but I said, basketball was just a metaphor for life, the way we brought it up in the book. But we'll take it, when we think about our eventual payout, shall we say, all of the profits from our book might go to help organizations that work with kids that have challenges in their life. We don't see a dime. Those are the groups that need the money. So I was like, okay, we'll play. So I got competitive, Mike. I have to admit it to you. I said, who's on the list ahead of us? And she said, well, you're in the Bay Area, aren't you? And I said, yeah, we just moved out here. We're having a great time. Well, you've heard of the Golden State Warriors? I was, oh, yes. And she said, well, Iguodala's got a book called The Sixth Man, and Curry's got his book, and well, LeBron's got his book. And she kind of went through, and Kobe, and all these people. And so I said, you know what? It's good to be on that list. That's a nice group to be hanging out with. And so, we're just kind of pinching ourselves. We're very grateful.
That is amazing, too. And, of course, being in the Bay Area, the Golden State Warriors, and, of course, I seem to think about it as well, too. And, I'm going to throw this one out there. Did anybody from the Golden State Warriors, come to you about the book, or did they know anything about, your son that was in basketball and having this book, like right by Steph Curry and everybody else in the Warriors, especially...
they haven't. The closest we have, of course, we don't go out there and send it out there. We're into this 1-year plan with who we're working with, and the St. Mary's College, their coach over there. That's quite a Cinderella story. This little Tinkertot gym of 3,000, and they can take down Gonzaga in the basketball season, and that's no exaggeration, Mike. St. Mary's Gym, I've been in it, is 3,000, it holds 3,400, and Gonzaga rolls in there, in like a motor coach, and goes back with the on the losing end, last year in the tournament, actually, but they've played on their home court. But yeah, I'm going to probably be visiting with them and their basketball group. And it's real early with regards to that. We're starting to get a lot of traction. It just came out in March. And so we're right on course with a lot of these other groups for sure. And I'm assuming that we'll be in touch with NBA folks that really look at it as an inspirational story.
That's amazing too. And of course, I was just going to ask you as well too that I'm sure there's some people out there, that are like, deaf or hard of hearing, or I'm just trying to think of some players that who are as well. And do you think maybe like playing basketball, especially like on hard of hearing, would that be considered difficult on a pro level, or are coaches you think are willing to adjust?
Well, that's a great question, and there actually has been one player. He came out of Montana, and he played as kind of a reserve for the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron was on his run in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And he's a Mormon kid, and is retired now, obviously, but he's 7 foot tall and has a good game. And, it is quite a bit of a challenge. But you know what? As you escalate up in the game of basketball, Mike, and you're sounds like you know an awful lot about sports, so I don't mean to offend you with this, but it gets so loud in some of the environments, everything is signaled anyway. And so signaling with a deaf person, everybody's the same. The signal is the signal. And, I talk about it a little bit in the book. It's kind of spooky, and I think the audience might appreciate this. When you lose a sense, anybody that'll tell you that the other senses will kind of jumpstart and become more accentuated, that's definitely true. Christopher, our son, has a kinesthetic sense where he really knows where everybody is on the floor. And his sense of vision, I talk about it, and it's not a spoiler, but we went to one recruiting visit, and we were in a big arena, and Christopher's there as a 13-year-old, and I don't mean that in a braggy way. I'm trying to give it context here, and he's more concerned about the Jumbotron, and the 17 and 18-year-old recruits are over there. They all drove to the game, and poor kid at 13, he had to drive with his parents, to the game.
Oh, my.
As a Division I recruit. So we're at the game, Mike, and he looks up at the Jumbotron and then points down at the other side of the arena. And this is in the book. And he says, hey, Dad, and they do that little kiss cam thing. It's kind of cool with the couples. And he looks down at the end of the arena. There's probably 5,000 people down there. He says, hey, Dad, and Mom, do you see him down there? And we're like, oh no, this is he does this. It's like, where's Waldo? The visionary sense has just really, really catapulted to a level that we, with all of our senses intact, don't have. It's definitely real. And he says they're over there. See the band 2 rows up. See the tuba guy to the right of the tuba guy. That's the couple.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, I know. So it's like, where's Waldo at a whole new level? You're familiar with the cartoon thing where you try to find Waldo in the cartoon. And that's happened to us in our house a couple times along the way. So we kind of got used to it, but I thought it would be really neat for the audience that would be reading Ephphatha to really see how, God has kind of an interesting little plan here. We may not have the hearing thing going on, but you're going to get your vision going so that it can really be amazing. And it happened on the basketball floor many times, with his passing and stuff.
That was amazing, too. And I thought about it. I was going to ask, did he end up going to school just because of that Jumbotron? It made me think of it. It's like, Dad, I want to go to this school. It's got a big, cool Jumbotron.
It's so funny, isn't it, Mike? And we recognized early on, and it's kind of a sad business in a way, and we like that particular coach. We don't want to mention the school, obviously. Right. There's an attraction there. But when they recruit young like that, I'll give you a little tidbit, and maybe for your audience's edification as well, it's sad in a way when they recruit the kids so young, because the kids that are that age, they fall in love with the darndest things, and anybody that has a real decent relationship with them, they pretty much want to go to the first school that recruits them. You know, because if the coach is a nice guy, it's like, wow, I've never had a major coach pay so much attention to me. And so, yeah, they're very vulnerable, you know, and the book's not about that. It's really about, gosh, what do we do? We're starting to, you know, show some skills academically, but, you know, there was hard times too. As Christopher wrote, I asked him to do the foreword of the book, and he said, I'll be honest with everybody that reads this book, I wasn't invited to very many birthday parties growing up.
Oh, you know? My.
I know. So it's sad in parts. You know, there's no sexual abuse. There's no physical abuse. There's no crazy stuff like that. You know, the reviews on Amazon say the way it is, and that is, you know, we need more stories like this, you know. But, you know, as he says, this line still startles me. You know, when he wrote it, I said, you know, I remember that, and it is painful. And he said, you know, let's be honest, too, for my life, adults and children can be unkind. Now, as you react to that, Mike, and your audience does, they're probably compassionate people. And as adults, why would you not invite a deaf kid to do things, or why would you not pay attention, or why wouldn't you help a deaf kid if he's trying to work some stuff out as an adult? Well, there's cases in the book where we weren't calling anybody out, but we were just really letting people know, not those people, but people in life, you know, that this is kind of how it works. And as I said to Christopher later in his life, I said, hey, son, let me ask you a real important question. It's really kind of sad in a way, but I had to ask it. I said, if you weren't treated the way you were treated, do you think you would have become who you are and be so accomplished? And he said, Dad, no way. You know, it just taught me to work so hard. So, yeah, it's pretty important when you think about it that way. His research team at Cornell, you know, they've developed glasses, Mike, and that captioning comes inside the lens of the glasses, so that when a deaf person is talking to a hearing person and has the glasses on, real-time voice recognition, they see the captioning of what the hearing person is saying in the lenses of their glasses.
I read something about that where it's like you get these glasses and you could see the words that somebody is trying to talk to you. And I remember seeing those, and when you mention it, and I said, that's pretty much the wave of the future. And I think they did something similar where they had like Google with glasses, but it was like close to it, but it was like really evolutionary. And I
very
think that
much so. And they're testing it in the theater, Mike, in London, so that when deaf people can go to the theater, they'll be laughing and they'll be in sync with the production real time. And it's all accurate. You know, they've had hard times with the words and whatnot, you know, that it's not accurate, but they got it down to like 98, 99% accurate. It also has a lot of importance for those of us that are hearing and lose our hearing later in life. We have the complete ability to speak, obviously, but the tremendous percentage of the population will lose their hearing, and as such, those glasses in the future will help them immensely. So, you know, it's let's be painfully honest here. When you're left out of things, and when you're on the outside looking in life, and you realize what's causing that, you're probably going to get into some situations, if you've worked hard academically and in research areas, to really work hard so that other people can have an easier go of it, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. We'll talk a little bit about your book, and plus, you know, I have an experience myself too, talking as well, and a few other things, along with some basketball. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. 3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Apple, and Google Play. You can also check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with Dr. Thomas Caufield, the author of Ephphatha. I haven't said that too much, so shame on me there. Which is mean to be open in Aramaic, which is 3,000 years old. He chronicles the journey of his only son, Christopher, born with no hearing at all. And Christopher has also played basketball on a college level, and he was also featured on ESPN. We're talking about some of the book as well, too, and, played at Cornell as well, too. He also has setback. But first, I want to share something as well, too, since we got on the subject that Christopher hasn't been invited to many birthday parties, and it seems like that, a while back that, this was accepted. Let's bring somebody in. But with the social media out there, and of course, with all the things that's happening, it seems like that they're more ostracized than ever. And I have to say this about my son, Stephen, that he was born with moderate to severe hearing loss. And of course, just having that, we have to just, talk on a whole new level, think on a whole new level, and whatever else, skill set and everything else. And, I can totally understand, what you go through as well, too. And also just another question as well, since, he plays basketball and all that. And the first question I forgot to ask you is, how did he get interested in basketball?
Well, maybe it's just a point of correction, because our title, it's not that it's misleading. It's a transformational journey to the Ivy League, and his school of choice in the end for graduate school was Cornell. But the facts are we ended up, Mike choosing not to play basketball in college and accepted a presidential scholarship instead to get our tuition covered completely, which led to a whole series of other scholarship opportunities. So we left basketball behind in high school. Christopher was a Division I recruit at 13 years old and developed a stress fracture. And so it was time to move on. And so we moved completely into the academic world. But to answer the question, when did he start? Very early. He started when he was about 6 years old, and as we got very good, as he kind of traveled the Midwest on AAU teams, it became very obvious that the Park District wasn't where he would be playing basketball. He was, when we would get over to the hotbed, shall we say, Indiana, he was compared to having a Larry Bird-style jump shot in the 7th grade with accuracy. And he was a 6'5" player and played out front at the guard position, so he was able to get a lot of things to go his way, for sure. And, I talk about it at length in the book. When you're born with a disability, you're not invited to things, as you mentioned, Mike, and it sounds like your son, Stephen, the hearing loss issue. The other thing which we thought was fascinating and is that you end up suddenly hanging around with a lot of people that are very different from you. And when you break it down, you're hanging around with them because, sadly, they too have been treated a bit differently, and maybe they're not included. So our home and birthday parties resembled somewhat of like a United Nations tour ourselves, where you got the kid from Germany whose dad is a faculty member, and they came across to work at a university, and he's working through the English language himself, and it's awkward because kids don't have a lot of patience. They don't want to repeat things too many times. They might do it a couple times, but unless, truthfully, Mike, and your audience should hear this as well, unless they have someone in their family and they understand disabilities and they understand about helping others out, and they're sensitive to that, you're probably not in the sphere. And so how good is that for us, though? Then suddenly we're meeting the kid from India, and we're meeting the kid from Egypt, and we're, Africa. I could go on and on. And so the way that kind of moves off in a cool way is we get in the basketball arena. The bottom line is it gets competitive early. So the grade school team is formed, and there's the haves and the have-nots. And the have-nots in the 7th and 8th grade are not going to play. Christopher had a new plan, and how exciting is this? He's told me this one time. I was like, that is like the coolest plan I've ever heard of. Most kids are a little bit into themselves at that age. It's like, I call it hormones wrapped up in an appetite. but anyway, so here's his thing. And this comes from the heart where you're used to being left out. He says, Dad, I'm just going to go so hard in the first half, first and second quarters, try to get our team up by as much as we can. All my buddies that never play, they're going to get in the third quarter. And that's the way we rolled. I mean, many victories, going to the state championships at the grade school level. Illinois is a big basketball state.
Oh, yes.
And, and you're playing teams from Chicago or Southern Illinois, for the state championships. And there's our son. We couldn't be more proud. We're rolling along with, 2 years straight just because, this kid's looking at his buddies and saying, I even say it in the book. I said, I thought my kid would be playing a little more than these other guys. They're playing more than my kid. We're getting up so much at halftime, and he's not doing anything in any way to humiliate the other team. Just average. It is what it is. I'll just say it, and I don't mean it in a braggy way. Averaging a double-double throughout his career. It is what it is, but there's a method to that where he's looking for the disenfranchised to help them out. So yeah, we just couldn't be more proud for sure.
That was amazing too. I was just going to say, you're talking about a Larry Burr-esque style. I was going to say with Christopher, it's always nothing but net.
yeah, it's pretty exciting to watch, and people knew his reputation, and you get a lot of double and triple teams, but then what happens. The good players, they find the other players, and boy, the team loves that. They're scoring, and it's all good. We had the time of our lives, and who would have thought? As I'm toiling away with this journal, right? Then ESPN comes into our lives and wants to cover Christopher's story. They're just beyond belief. It's like, how does this work? Can he actually get going out there? I said, it's all fine. He's got a headband. He has a cochlear implant, that helps him hear a little better. And life is good for us, for sure.
And of course, too, with the NBA as well, too, is that you're having all these players from different countries coming in, like, say, from China, Saudi Arabia, Croatia, and Germany, Poland. And, of course, you got, maybe a couple from Canada. And all of a sudden, the NBA becomes a melting pot. And I think that's becoming a best example of everybody accepting everybody. And, of course,
I agree.
And, of course, I look through the list as well, too, according to bookauthority.org, where Ephphatha is ranked number 8, of course, being ahead of, not too far from LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and college basketball, Chad Ryhowick, 7-footer, and talked about inspiring character, Kevin Durant, and Andre Iguodala, the 6th man. And my goodness.
Hey, we could learn to hate that guy. He's ahead of us, Mike. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, then again, you're in the Golden State area. It's like you should love them as well, too. And, of course,
I'm kidding, of course, but what a small world, isn't it? Mike Iguodala is from Illinois, where Christopher grew up, and it's just 70 miles from our house, and legendary player in Illinois, and a nice guy, a real nice guy. And you know what that's about? That book, Sixth Man. Okay, do I have to start to be somebody in the NBA? Answer: no. You had a great career, and how cool is that you can put things together and you don't have to cop an attitude because you come off the bench. Because, as I used to coach basketball, I used to say, guys, can we get something straight? This whole starter thing is really overrated, because if I were to put your minutes on a table, there's people that begin the game. I was very careful with my language. People that begin the game, the middle guys, the people that can go forever, the people that finish for us. This is team. Don't worry about this starter thing where you're called out. If I have to mix that up, I will. but it's really meaningless because it's a collective once we get rolling in the game, and the term is really overrated.
Mm-hmm. And of course, too, you talk about the six men. Every time I think about the six men, this is probably going way back to Vinny the Microwave Johnson of the Detroit Pistons.
Absolutely.
It's like that's how the six man became so important, where it's like Vinny Johnson, if you put him in a starting lineup, he was just an average player. Coming off the bench, he'll get 20 points right off the bench, get the game going. That's how the Pistons won. They call him the microwave because they'll come off the bench, score 20 points, and just sit down. That's probably like the easiest job in the world. Score 20 points in what? Maybe 5-10 minutes and sit down. You're done for the day.
Right, Mike. And in the playoffs, George's looking like him, like, what is going on here, man? Well, he's a microwave. That's how it works, man. He heats up so fast.
Oh, yeah. And of course, here's Michael putting on 60 points and the full 48 minutes of the game, going overtime, another 12 minutes going up to an hour. And it's like, he works hard for the money and got the microwave just in spots, 20 points, maybe 5-10 minutes? Yeah, done. It's been fun. There's my paycheck. Thank you. See you tomorrow. So,
yeah, that is so fun. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And of course, that's going to be very important as well too. So you also had the transformation as well too, and I just about lost it. Ephphatha, which is to be opened, and also with being in the Aramaic as well too. And give us the background to the name itself. And I think you also met some people who had that same meaning as well too.
Okay, yeah, good question. Yeah, that's a term that's 3,000 years old, and very coincidentally, it is only used in the Bible one time. And when you think about a word like that, well, gosh, why would it be used in the Bible just one time? I don't want to do a spoiler on that one, so I'm going to ask your audience to look that word up, and I think they'll find some very impactful meaning of the one time it's used in the Bible. And I think that will tie up all the loose ends to who Christopher is, where he was going, his transformational journey. But we found that the word, meaning to be opened, had a lot of power in his life. Who was willing to open up and allow Christopher in? How was Christopher going to open up and adapt to this new world? He really, to this day, doesn't call his issue with a lack of hearing a disability. He calls it finding your possibilities and where you fit in. And he really has. He just took a job with Microsoft in artificial intelligence. And it's the cutest thing because they're so excited to have him. He's so excited to be there. He writes a letter to them saying, thank you so much for demonstrating to me and my family that Microsoft is a company that really, really believes in inclusion. And I got to tell you, Mike, and I hope your audience really hears me out on this point, they wrote him back immediately and they said, Christopher, you have all the skills in the world here. This is exactly the type of person we want to recruit here at Microsoft. And this is the way we roll, because that's why we're good, is we have all these different people, and you're one of us now. And we were just so grateful, So he is relocated, and he's in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, nice.
Time of his life. Yeah, artificial intelligence division.
Oh, that's amazing. And sounds like he's going to be the force behind to making the glasses where it's like it can read the captions as well, too. Maybe something better, too. Could be like
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the way they roll up there. And it's just fit in perfectly up there. It's a beautiful part of the country. He likes to bike around. And the weather has its kind of gloomy times, but, he's in as we talk here today, he has he's in the 70s now, which is nice.
Oh, that's amazing, too. And we'll talk a little more about that, a little bit about the book. And, of course, just a few more things, including basketball. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. 888-960 or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and also iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. And take the Mike Wagner Show with you anywhere you go on any mobile device, and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with Dr. Thomas Caufield, the author of Ephphatha, which is to be open in Aramaic, chronicles his only son, Christopher, going from birth to basketball, and currently where he's working with Microsoft. He was born with no hearing at all, and it's right about the 20 years, from birth up until 20, and Dr. Caufield's also earned 4 degrees, and his works have been published at national and state levels, and of course, I'm not sure if we touched about your son's cochlear implant, and, just going through some facial nerve graft surgeries, but, just having like no hearing at all. And I guess there's just, details about implants and, what did it take to get through as well, too.
Well, Mike, that is a very interesting part of our life. Some of the kids, when they're diagnosed, there's newborn screening now, but it really wasn't available when Christopher was born. So the average age when you find out your son or daughter is deaf is about 1 year old. And so we found out at that point in time, we wish, and we talk about it at length in the book, we wish those darn hearing aids would have worked for us, but when you don't have any hearing at all, the aids don't work. So we went and had a cochlear implant done on an experimental trial. Those would normally be done at 24 months. We went in at 18 months, and by golly, it worked. It worked quite well, and Christopher is who he is today because of really that implant working at an exceptional level. He still has difficulties in group situations where a lot of people talk simultaneously. Restaurants get a little noisy for him, but the implant was clearly a game changer for us. The audience should know, and I'm glad you're hearing it yourself as well, Mike, we put in 1,500 hours of speech therapy before Christopher was 9 years old.
Wow.
And anytime you do something like that, of that magnitude, and, you hear about it in life a lot, Mike, don't we? We hear about this 10,000-hour rule. If you put down 10,000 hours into something, learning the violin, playing basketball, whatever your craft is, and if you keep going and you have a higher skill level than most, you're probably going to be exceptional. Well, Christopher turned out to be quite exceptional with his speech. It's an interesting situation because we don't do it anymore, but say when Christopher's 14, when he has the implant on, his speech is perfectly enunciated.
Nice.
Soon as we take it off, he immediately moves into more of a bit of a change in his articulation pattern, and he struggles. He struggles a bit. He wonders how he's talking, but his voice changes because there's no feedback loop. Do you follow me? Where he can hear his voice through the implant because he doesn't have hearing. But the implant, to break it down for the audience briefly, is an electrode array that goes into the auditory nerve, actually through the cranium or the skull. And it takes the vibrations that we know as sound, and it registers those to that auditory nerve that tells the brain that's the sound for S, that's the sound for A. You could go through all the consonants and vowels. But to put it in perspective as a labor of love, it took us 30 days with speech therapy in the clinic and at home just to teach Christopher the ah sound.
Wow.
Yeah. So I talk about it in the book. You get to a point where you're not depressed, but you're wondering if there's enough time, Mike, to be able to get it all in a constructive manner so he can gain speech. It was a little overrated. We just kept working it. 1,500 hours is a lot by the time you're 9. But today, people, especially when his hair is a little longer, they're like, he is deaf. I know that, but I can't tell anything different with his speech. And, well, we've worked very hard to obtain that, so we take it as a compliment. But there were hard times, we had to really work hard to get to that level.
And it sounds like the technology has improved greatly over time as well. Or like you said, it was just hearing aids back then when he found out that Christopher was deaf. But now with the new technology, that stuff can be done like pretty quick. Sounds like the advances, trying to get some hearing from a hearing loss has advanced significantly.
Well, it has, but I would want the audience to know for sure there are thresholds to hearing loss where they allow for the cochlear implant to be done. It's a very, very serious surgery, and as such, you really need to have what they call a profound hearing loss to obtain a cochlear implant surgically. People in the moderate to mild hearing loss can typically get along okay with hearing aids. They're that good. But when you don't have any, it caused the cochlear implants. But to go back historically, cochlear implants started to really rev up in the 80s, believe it or not. But now, the battery size is so small, Christopher's fits behind the back of his ear.
No, my goodness.
Yeah. And that's including the speech processor.
And do you find there are days that you struggle with Christopher to have him tell him to put his hearing aids on, or he's like, okay, I'll put them on?
Well, he likes his quiet time, and so when he chooses to take his cochlear implant off, he wants to be in that quiet zone. And some people really feel sorry for him and us and everything, and we divorce ourselves from that pretty quickly. This is all we know, with him. And as he said it best, he said, I never really knew what hearing was. So when this benefit of a cochlear implant came in my life, now this is what I know. The people I really my heart goes out to them, Mike, are the people that gradually lose their hearing. See, they knew how to hear. Progressive hearing loss is an awful thing, and especially when it happens to younger people, say in their 30s. Because they knew their whole life how to hear, and then they start to suddenly lose it. And when you juxtaposition those two perceptions, Christopher never knew what it was like. And so he's just real happy. But to answer your question again is when he chooses to take the implant off, everybody just moves into the quiet zone with him.
It's like, I'm taking off. Come with me. Come with me.
That's a time out. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. And of course, society these days seem to have a little bit of difficulty, adjusting with people who have hearing aids and everything else. And it takes like a mixing pot, like you said. NBA as an example, you got one from Germany, one from Canada, or one from Saudi Arabia playing as well, too. And, of course, with the advent of social media, do you think the people with a hearing loss are becoming more accepted? Is it the same? Or do you think it's getting worse?
I think it is getting better with social media, and I'll put it in a real succinct example of why that is because, Mike, honestly, the level playing field is there because someone's typing, and all you have to do is read the text, and as such, it's
that's
not
a good
on
part,
yes. And so you can really engage in dialogue. Thank goodness, remember in the day we didn't have texting, you just have maybe this bulky cell phone, but you'd have to really strain as a hearing impaired person to use that. Christopher's, he uses his phone just like, anybody else, without the texting. But when he texts, that really is just opens up the whole world for him.
That's amazing, too. And I can imagine him typing right now while he listens to the interview. LOL.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just amazing how these ventures have come around. So once again, we're here with Dr. Thomas Caufield, the author of Ephphatha, which is to be opened in Aramaic, chronicles of his only son, Christopher, born with no hearing at all. Available on Amazon as well, too. You can purchase that. And just a couple more things here before we depart. And you've been fantastic. Love to have you back on. Maybe talk basketball during the basketball season. Who do you consider your biggest influence when it comes to writing your book?
My biggest influence?
Correct, yes.
Oh, that would be my father, and I talk about it in the dedication of the book. Yeah, my dad was a writer, and he was also a disabled person himself.
Oh, really?
And we did not get any. He didn't ask for any sympathy or anything like that. He had only one leg, and he would whip up on us, all us boys. We're a big Catholic family, Irish Catholic from Chicago, and he would whip up on us in sports. And he told us all the time that you need to work hard to get where you're at in life, and don't expect anybody to feel sorry for you about anything. And he would never say, look at me and they don't feel sorry for me or anything like that. He just models such hard work. When you look at it, he was a gifted writer. I've always been able to do pretty well with that, but I guess the reviews speak to what is. They're really taken into the story of Ephphatha and what it's all about. And the book is dedicated to those who are on the outside looking in life, wanting to be included, and they want to understand how they can be. And to a certain extent, my dad was that way, because of his disability, but he definitely showed the world he had plenty of other skills, and he modeled that to us, and that came to me for sure.
And it also sounds like, too, that you lose one sense of hearing, or lose one sense of movement, or lose one limb, and of course, if I gather it right, that everything else just takes over, like, say your arms, legs, or part of your brain, or, eyes or nose or whatever. It just like takes that up to like a whole new level.
You do learn to compensate. The other thing, within that question is, who were people that really helped you out, so you could write a book like this, maybe be as scholarly as I am. And it was really hard work. Big Catholic family. The majority of people have doctorates in our family. I don't mean that in a braggy way, but they modeled hard work. They were born and raised in the Depression, and my mom got a perfect score on her SAT test, but never went to college. And so a lot of preachy opinions in our household about you will go to college and you all have gifts this way. We know it. And work hard, and good things will come to you, and treat others respectfully. And so I think that's all definitely become evident in my life.
That was amazing, too. And I wanted to say also my wife was born with a serious hearing loss in 1 year as well, too. You talk about the restaurants where it seems like that they get involved, losing conversation, everything else. And, of course, I'm thinking one day that maybe there could be technology out there where we're able to hear in restaurant noise and everything else. And with your son, working Microsoft and what he does, maybe one day he can invent it, and I encourage him to do so.
There is, Mike, and if you're jotting a note down here, it's called a Roger pen. And what it does is it noise reduces the ambient noise around the arena. It just came out. Christopher is using it at Microsoft in conference meetings. It goes on the table in such a way where basically it reduces a lot of that other banging that's in the ambient noise that's in and around people with hearing aids, where it basically can help out. So you might want to research that a little bit. Yeah.
It's called the Roger Pen from Microsoft, and
it's not from Microsoft.
I'm sorry.
I believe it's another group. It might be Phonak or one of these other groups, but it can help in arenas where you're sitting around a table and talking, and there's a lot of noise in and around you. It isolates what we do with regular normal hearing that we were born with. We can kind of tune that other stuff out. A hearing aid is not sophisticated enough to do that, but they do have sound devices now that have just come out to help with that.
Okay.
But, I'm pretty confident I have it right. I believe it's Phonak is the company, but it's called the Roger Pen. Yeah.
Okay.
It just sits out there and helps with that.
Yeah, I'm looking up right now, too. I still have an iPad, which is from the, 2011, 2012, and it still works. Roger Pen, and it's from Phonak, and something to consider as well, too, and researching that. And just one more thing here. You've been fantastic.
Sure.
Love to have you on again. What's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Well, I would tell you that in life, one of our credos is that everybody in life, and this is going to be a very short answer, but I think it'll be powerful for you, Mike, and as well as your audience, in life, everybody really has the right to be understood.
That's very important.
And when you think about it that way, think about what we've talked about today, Mike, with all the diversity in the world and people with disabilities. They all come to the arena where you might meet up, or an educational system or a social area, and they bring all those experiences. And some of them are unique to others. But when you embrace that person, what we want to do is make sure people understand, in reading this book, that's one of our beliefs, that again, everybody has the right to be understood.
That is amazing too, and well thought as well too. And just want to say, Dr. Caufield, you've been fantastic. Love to have you on again soon. And just a couple more things before I wrap up here. What are your upcoming projects? What's your website? How do people contact you? And where can they purchase the book?
Well, thank you. And this has been a great interview for me, Mike, as well. And I hope our audience has enjoyed this. The best way to get that book is to go to our website. It's ephphathabook.com. And let me spell that out. EPHPHATHA book.com. When one is there, they'll discover that they can get that book in any format they want, and it'll go to Amazon and all of the retailers they like to work with, whether it be Kindle or ebook or audio book. We're quite proud that it comes in all of those versions, and it's really great. We like the ebook especially because it's an electronic ebook in that it goes back to the media attention that Christopher receives. So when you're in the ebook, you can push on a link in the book, and immediately it goes back to that point in time when Christopher was, say, 6 years old and he's having a birthday party and this media group shows up, or the ESPN story. A good author, Mike, can put together an ebook in about 2 hours. That one, with all the hard work, took us a whole month to put together.
Wow.
So it's an enhanced ebook is what they call it professionally. And so it's in print. A lot of people like to feel the book, and there's an audio book there too. And the audience can have fun with it because I'm not the narrator. I was asked to do it. I respectfully declined. I said, there's professional people that can do this. and we chose a narrator, and I think the audience that chooses to get that audio book, if they listen carefully, they'll recognize the voice. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that as well, too. And Dr. Caufield, just want to say a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Sure. Love to have you back on again soon. And please do us a favor, keep us up to date. And I wish you and Christopher all the best.
Thank you, Mike. I enjoyed talking with you.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. Also, become a sponsor of the program or donate today at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of The Mike Wagner Show.